Dear YouTube, if you're watching this video, it's probably because you haven't seen yet the game number 12 of the World Chess Championship match. You're lucky, because what just happened today is the most heartbreaking thing that could ever happen in a match like that. Before we jump right into the moves, let me remind you that the current score is 6-5. Nepo leads the match, and there are only 3 games to go. So the ultimate question is, will Ding come back from the dead, or is Nepo the new world champion? The game starts with d4. Of course, it's not a surprise. Knight f6, knight f3. Not the most aggressive option, obviously. c4 would have been sharper. d5, and the real surprise, number 1, e3. One of the most unambitious, so-to-be, ways to play the opening for white, especially the d4 opening, so-called the call system. Was Nepo surprised by this opening choice? No. Was Nepo prepared for that opening choice? No. How come these two are connected? Simply, Nepo knows that Ding can play anything. In the very bad words, any BS. He cannot prepare for everything, because sometimes it's just not making sense. What is important and what works in the end of the day is the head during the game, which might or might not have worked today. c5. For now, Nepo goes with a good move. He replies with the best approach. Knight d2. Oh my, another passive and weird move for whites. How to continue? Well, here are multiple options. Black can continue with either e6 or knight c6. Both are most logical and very good. But Nepo goes with the first dubious reply. C takes d4. Now, after e takes d4, believe it or not, but we are in our favorite, Carl is bad. Correct, Carl's bad. The structure that has occurred already many times in this championship, and Jan was not the one who was playing it correct. Already 2 times it got Jan in a very big trouble. Queen c7 replies Jan with, and to me here the position seems super familiar because it really looks like exchange Caro-Kann. If you're watching my videos, if you follow my chess path, then you know that Caro-Kann is the opening that I play with white after e4 c6. Well, if you ask me how does it occur the Caro-Kann here after d4, then I'll show you. It's e4 c6, d4 d5, e takes d5, c takes d5, and we got the exact same structure. White will go with c3, knight c6, bishop d3, and queen c7, the same position occurred. I need to explain you why c takes d4 is not so good for Jan. The answer is simple. Remember I said e3 was bad. E is bad. Why? Because we block the bishop. The bishop belongs to either f4 or g5 in the aggressive square. So white decides deliberately to block the bishop, with the idea probably developing into b2 after b4 or b3 later on. I'll see what happens. And here Jan just solves all the problems for white by taking, and after e takes d4, the bishop is already out. Got it? Good. Of course, Jan understands that, and he has other ideas behind, but positionally this is not making sense, regardless of what was in Jan's mind. Probably Jan was just trying to get his opponent out of the book. Queen c7, c3, bishop d7. Bishop d7? Are you serious? Bishop d7? Haven't your mother told you that in the opening you start developing knights and only after bishops? Because bishops are already half-developed pieces from standing at their own spots? And bro, what's your problem here? There is no bishop b5, there is no queen. Why would you play bishop d7? This is the craziest thing that one can do in the opening, and the only explanation to that is probably because Jan was trying to put his bishop on f5, but then his muscle got really burned out because of, you know, all the push-ups and pull-ups he'd done this morning, and his hand just dropped the bishop. I mean, honestly, I don't know. I guess Jan was just trying to get his opponent out of the book, but this is the most suicidal way of play the opening. And of course he's not losing, but the move is so dubious. The most principal line is probably to get the center, knight e5, knight c6, and let's say no, we do not want to take the bishop because the bishop is bad. We'll just reinforce this e5 square. And by the way, a very important e5 square is called... No, you're wrong. It's not an outpost. It's called a Pillsbury Knight. Go Google that out. it will serve you something. Pillsbury Knight. You'll tell me in the comments down below. Liren replies with bishop d3. Knight c6. No Pillsbury Knight anymore. Short castle, bishop g4. Well, here, kudos to Jan, because he finally admits himself his mistake, and even though he loses a tempo now, he still improves the square of the bishop. I'm always happy to congratulate a person who admits his own mistakes. It's a big quality, important not just in chess but also for life. White has played the most passive opening that could exist, and yet Black did not equalize. Well, questions to Jan. What you do need to know is this is a typical Carlsbad with 2 tempi down for Black. First tempi, of course, it's bishop d7 and bishop g4, but second tempi, and this is, by the way, a very deep thought, is that Carlsbad from the very beginning for Black is an opening with a tempo down, because the normal Carlsbad occurs in Queen's Gambit declined. After d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, takes and takes, we got the Carlsbad where White is the one having the extra pawn on the king side, whereas in the game we see that here is the Black having the pawn on the king side. The moral of this story, Carlsbad with 2 tempi down. Black is worse. Rook e1. Okay. e6. Fine. Knight f1 with the idea playing knight g3 and h3. Very good. Bishop d6. Bishop g5. I love that move. Another option would have been knight g3 and h3 immediately. Probably would be followed by something like short castle h3, bishop f3, queen f3, and here might be the most principal e5. And after d takes e5, knight takes e5, indeed, Black managed to change some pawns, and the position could look equal, but it's still an isolated pawn. So long-term, Black could still be having some problems here, and I would not recommend this position to anyone but Black. Oh, and by the way, today we have the evil bar right here. You see it? It's because, you know, just for a change. You'll let me know your preference. And the clock. I brought you the clock. I hope you are enjoying it. Bishop g5. Now there is a big question for Black. Should Black castle long or short? Long castle, to be honest, would be a complete suicide because, let me remind you, Jan is leading 6-5, so any draw approaches him to the title. And castling opposite sides would be leading to a crazy position, which Jan doesn't want. So he goes for short castle, but short castle is also having its own questions, like, won't you be under attack here either way? The moral of the story, whatever you castle, you might be under attack. So let's just go for the most smoothest approach, short castle. Bishop f6. Coincidence or not, for the second time in this match, Liren takes the knight on f6 with the bishop on the move number 12. And his opponent replies with g takes f6. Here, it might be in Black's favor, even though you can see that the king is naked, but the king will go to h8, and then the rook will come, and then there's going to be an open file, and whose king is actually going to be under the attack? Knight g3, f5, let's go! Young Nepomniachtchi is very aggressive. h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, knight e7. For now, everything is looking logical. Knight is coming to g6, maybe to h5, preparing f4. I also like the fact that f5 is blocking the white bishop on d3, and the black bishop is extremely strong. I mean, honestly, position is sliding into Black's favor. Knight h5 is not a danger because king h8, there is no check. g4. Liren goes all in, trying to prove the point that the bishop needs to be open, and Dina has the balls. He needs to get the point back. Otherwise, the title might run away. Rook g8, king h1, knight g6, bishop c2. Yes, it's a question mark. It's the first mistake of the game. And the problem is here because of knight h4, which Jan just did. Great move. Honestly, from now on, Jan starts playing best moves. If you ask me what Dina should have done instead, perhaps something like rook g1, and saying knight h4 is not that dangerous here because my rook is already on the g file, and this is extremely important. We are now on time. Queen e3, rook g6, Black is just faster with doubling on the g file. Rook g1 still, but f4, baby, what are you gonna do with your queen? And we're not afraid to sack the exchange. Well, this match has been very common for exchange sacks. In fact, this match could be used as a book, how to sacrifice the exchange. Queen d3. No, I don't need any exchange. Queen e7. Rook e1. Queen g5. Yes, we are doubling. No, we're tripling. We're bringing the other rook. c4. Ding says. And this is another suicidal approach. You know, as the old saying goes, whenever you're getting under attack, you have to open position in the center. Try to deviate the attention from the game. Yes, well, unfortunately here it doesn't work, because after d takes c4, queen cannot capture back, because there is gonna be knight f3, and white loses the exchange. Queen c3, queen has to guard this square. b5, another brilliant move by Jan. Jan is playing perfect chess. In this very moment, by winning this game, Jan almost guarantees himself the win in the championship, because he will only need to make half a point in the upcoming 2 games to guarantee him the win. a4. b4, another interesting idea from Jan. Jan does not realize the potential behind his move. Queen takes f3 and knight f3. The winning move, getting the exchange and getting the winning position. Jan starts overthinking. Rook g8 is a mistake. Jan decides not to capture the exchange because he sees some ghosts, or he thinks that he has better things. But the truth is he does not. From now on, every single move is gonna be a mistake. Queen c6, double question mark. Instead, Ding should have taken the exchange. I mean, what is going on with these boys? None of them wants to take the exchange of the other one. They are clearly fried up. Their brains switched off. They are not there. They are not at the board anymore. It's all about nerves. Queen c6. Bishop b8. Another double question mark. Another blunder. Instead, knight f5. And pawn protecting the bishop and attacking on d4, regrouping the knight. And the pawn takes, there's a checkmate. Or there is no checkmate. Rook takes, king takes, f3, yes! And knight g3, and rook g2, and king h1, and bishop takes. And the position is completely winning. If you take the bishop, rook takes g3, and the pawn push. Okay, computer says made in 13. Queen b7. Again! Rook h6! Oh my lens! The evil bar is having a heart attack. Bishop e4. Jan starts to play extremely fast. Both players start playing fast, but we all know when Jan starts playing fast, it means that he is tilted or he's not controlling his emotions. Jan really needs to sit down and calculate things, because Jan just threw out all the advantage. The position just jumped from completely winning for Jan, then real big advantage for Ding, and now again completely winning for Jan, and now equal. The position is equal. Jan needs to take a moment and play some good moves. Like for instance, back to bishop d6 or f3. Opening the bishop. Never hurts. Always good. Instead, Jan goes with rook f8. When I look at rook f8, I'm like, are you serious? You're the future world champion and you're using your rook from the open file to protect the pawn? Okay, the only explanation this could be the idea of pushing f5. But is it really a good idea? Queen takes b4. Ding Liren just continues capturing a pawn after pawn simply because he doesn't know what to do. And when you don't know what to do and you have a free material, then just take it. When you're playing under time pressure, just take the material. You'll figure it out later. And this is, by the way, a very good practical advice. The rook is attacked. Queen d8, protecting the rook. Queen c3, a very sneaky option for Ding Liren, preparing the d5. Knight g6, saying, go play d5. I don't care. I will just push e5, or I will just play bishop e5. Ding goes with bishop g2. Queen h4, saying, okay, I'm done having my queen in passive voice. I am bringing it back. Rook e2. Excuse me. I mean, a one-move pawn blunder from future potential world champion. The game is over and can just resign. Right in that moment, I looked at Jan and I saw him shaking his head and talking to himself and looking at the ceiling. Jan could no longer hold his poker face. He did try to do a couple of moves. h5, g takes h5, and h5, d5 is just coming. King g8, d6. My friends, it's a checkmate in 12. Pawn is promoting. All the pieces are in the toilet. Black king, that was the safest on earth. G file that was fully controlled by black ends up being a file where black gets. This was the game that Jan Nepomniachtchi will remember his entire life. Only God knows if Jan Nepomniachtchi will manage to recover. Because what just happened is that the score is now 6-6. The score is even. There are 2 more games. And if there is anyone in this tournament who has the advantage, psychological advantage, is now Ding. Everything is not so easy. We have seen so far and so forth that every player has managed to recover after a terrible loss. Still, tomorrow, Jan Nepomniachtchi gets white pieces. Do you think Jan will recover this one? Will we see Jan striking back? At the press conference, Ding mentioned that he was completely calm, that he has achieved the state of the confidence and emotional control. Well, that made me laugh a lot, because the amount of mistakes that I have just seen from Ding Liren shows the contrary. Who will have the better nerves at the World Chess Championship 2023? Thank you for watching.